This isn't a good start to 20.
We're going to evaluate your reaction time here. Like NHL 40 by the clock.
Good morning. Welcome to the January 2nd, 2024 County Board of Commissioners meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So my apologies, we are not streaming today. We are, however, recording. So welcome again to the first meeting of the year. First item of business is to nominate and elect the chair for 2024.
I'd like to nominate Gil Degler.
Commissioner Degler has been nominated. Any other nominations?
Nominate Tom Workman.
Mr. Workman has been nominated. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, I think I need a second for the chair? I do not. Okay, then I'll do a vote on Commissioner Degler as the Carver County Board Chair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So opposed say nay.
Aye. Nay.
The motion is successful on a 3-2 vote. Thank you. I'd want to take a brief break, or do you want to take over, Mr. Chair, and get the Vice Chair elected?
Unless you want to do that to get the Vice Chair, and then we can switch both, whatever, at the same time.
Once you get that done, then we'll switch around.
Okay. Nominations are now open for Vice Chair.
I'll nominate John Fahey.
Any other nominations? John Fahey has been nominated. Any other nominations? Finally, for the third time, any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, all in favor of John Fahey as Vice Chairman, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion is successful. Welcome. Congratulations, Mr. Fahey. With that, we'll take a 2-minute break to switch anything you wanted to switch.
Very good. You want to switch chairs?
So let's keep looking at the same direction.
Yep.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, that's good.
I'll gladly hand that back to you. So much pressure.
Okay, with that, we will continue with our morning's business. Item E is public comments. Anybody from the public like to say a few words to the county board on a topic that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go on to community announcements. Commissioner, community announcements. Commissioner Fahey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple items. The Historical Society, if you've been looking for a new reason to stop by the Carver County Historical Society, here's one. They are hosting the Minnesota Homefront World War II exhibit, which is on loan from the Minnesota Historical Society. Come on in and take a look at what the home front here in Minnesota was like while the country was at war in the 1940s. The museum's located at 555 West 1st Street in Waconia, and the hours are 9 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, and 9 to 2 on Saturdays. Also, the Carver County Library They're jumping right into 2024 with something for our teens. They're offering a scholarship essay workshop on Saturday, January 6th. This will be an online class from 10:30 to noon and will be taught by the Loft. Students will prepare to write their college scholarship application essays by exploring their personal narrative and how to tell their story in a compelling way. Additional details can be found at www.carverlive.org. And want to wish all the staff and everyone at Carver County Happy New Year.
Any other public announcements, community announcements?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Erdem.
I pride myself on giving my reasons for my vote, so I'll use a few minutes to talk about that now. In the nomination process the last 3 years, and you'll see it also in the packet for today for proposed agenda announcements. You're seeing an increased movement of other county boards, other city councils, other townships to move towards a rotation process to take the politics out of who's going to hold the gavel, to create clarity for staff, and so you can anticipate the future. So in the course of the last 22 years now, one commissioner district has been notably absent from holding that gavel. I think everybody duly elected should have the same burden and benefit of holding that gavel. I also think that 6 out of the last 9 years, the vice president has moved to the chair, creating again a chance for the staff to know who's going to be the leader and hold that gavel throughout the course of the year. So for those reasons, I did not vote for the nomination because Tom should have moved into the chair role, and then either District 4 or District 3 should have moved in the vice chair role to be here for 2025. Other announcements that I had over the course of the holiday, I had a chance to be out and about in a number of our buildings and talk to a lot of our staff. Had a chance to see the new Paradise Commons building at Lake Pony. It looks beautiful. The signage is up. That's been quite an endeavor, not only for the acquisition of that property over the course of 20-some years, but also the development of it. And Marty and his team have led that. Imperfect at times, but it's a beautiful building, and I hope our community gets great use out of that. Had a chance to go to the First Street Center that sometimes we forget about. It's our mental health facility. And I know that that's on the horizon for when it comes to space planning, but that building was active out of necessity around the holidays. And part of me says that in this sense that it's a necessity throughout the holidays. Some of us had the luxury of stepping away from the office, taking some time off, being with our families. The instances of mental health and mental health challenges elevates this time of year, so appreciate the staff that were there. Had a chance to be at the government center and meet with a ton of people. The DMVs and the libraries were packed, and the DMV was as well. And so, Dave and your team, thank you for that. Scheduling has been a chance for us to get more people through that door. And as much as I would have liked that to be an empty room where people in and out, there's a high demand because I know that we're delivering good service there. So thank you to your teams. Had a chance to be at a lot of gatherings, and I think a lot of times we go to a lot of things, right? We go to the Lions Club, we go to the Legion, we go out and about in the community. But it's what we bring back to this boardroom and make an impact of. And the two common themes that I heard among all the gatherings that I was is, number one, overall affordability, including taxes, not just the taxes that we decide, but city taxes, township taxes, and otherwise, and how it's impacting our youth and our next generation, being simply unaffordable for people to live here. And the second theme I heard over and over and over and over and over again was mental health in our world. Not just from a perspective of HHS, but also from law enforcement, attorney's office, families, etc. It's something that's plaguing us in so many ways. Our county is the gold standard when it comes to addressing those things. I want to wish Happy New Year to all the staff and the people that are watching, the community, and also wanted to underscore the importance and the impact of not-for-profit civic organizations, faith organizations, and the partnerships that we have. A number of those were elevated through this holiday. One of them I'll elevate. My daughter and I volunteer every couple of weeks at the Bountiful Baskets. Their demand is up almost 2 times from last year. That doesn't mean that there's 2 times more people that are trying to find a way for free food. It means that there's 2 times more need in our community. And so I think it's our obligation and opportunity as a board to address those. And again, in so many ways, we've done that with the gold standard and a lot of those people in the room right now. I've done that. I'm looking at Heather, I'm looking at Sheriff Cameron, I'm looking at Sarah. These are not easy things to do, and they're needs within our community that will get bigger, not smaller, in the next year. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Erdem. Any other public announcements this morning? With that, we'll continue on with our, wish everybody a Happy New Year. And hopefully this next year will be even better than the one we had last year. Item number 2, agenda review and adoption.
Chair, I move approval with one exception. I'd asked A2 to be pulled from consent and move to regular agenda so we can see that presentation.
We have a motion with the switching of item 8.2 to 9.2. Any?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Uterman, second by Commissioner Workman.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's clarification. We actually have a proposed amendment change, including that and the addition of a library board applicant, CDA applicant, and the proposed changes to the operating rules, which are
Except from the amendment. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
We do have that in front of us. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of the motion, as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, 2024 board operating rules. With that, I'll turn it over to Administrator Hemsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we ask you to do every year, and you are required to do by state statute, we have the proposed operating rules in your packet. The only changes that I proposed are listed on page 5 of your packet. By the way, there are a couple page numbers, so I'm referring to your packet page. Page 5 of your packet, where we're clarifying that outside of the metro area, overnight expenses associated with conferences are eligible for reimbursement. That's the way we've been handling it. We just added that clarification to make sure everybody understands that. And then on page 11 of your packet, there is a change related to the youth library board appointment to clarify the timing on the age restriction 18 and under, which we bumped into this past year. So those are relatively simple changes. And then again, you should have a handout in front of you, and that was distributed, proposing other changes. Those proposed changes were made by Commissioner Uterman. So I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Administrator Hemsey on the proposed changes? If not, we can either take have a motion for the whole, accepting the whole operating rules, or we can talk about each section by themselves. What's the wishes of the board at this point?
I think excuse me, Mr. Chair, the relatively minor changes, I would move approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lynch. Is there a second? Go ahead.
Just for discussion,
Well, we should have a second before we have discussion.
I second, including the proposed changes that were presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the operating rules as were presented by Administrator Hemsey. Now discussion, Commissioner Fahey.
yeah, I just wanted to make that clarification. It's not what's on the agenda, proposed agenda amendments that are in front of us. We're talking about what's in our pack.
I believe that's correct, because those are coming up in 9.2.
My second was to include the items that were number 3 and pull them in totality for the board operating rules. If that wasn't your intent, Tim, then I would withdraw.
So I will second Mr. Lynch's motion.
Okay, we have a motion made and second. Now is there a discussion on the proposed operating rules as presented by Administrator Hemsey?
Mr. Chair, I just seek a question of clarity. If these were to be passed as proposed and seconded, would these be on the table as well? They would not?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Uterman, they would not. If you want them on the table, that would be an amendment to the main motion. You can do that in a few ways. One would be to just propose the whole list of changes, or you could propose one at a time or a couple at a time. But the key is that you're proposing to amend that main motion.
Yep.
By adding these.
So I'll use a few minutes to explain these. They shouldn't come as any surprise because I proposed them multiple times. In E under officers, I'm proposing to take the politics out of the rotation for officers, give the staff ability to plan ahead, see a natural rotation that's predictable, and some points that were made in our last board meeting, quest for transparency. The full context can be shared there. Under G, monthly expense allowance, Again, it was brought up in a previous meeting about prudent use of taxpayer dollars and transparency. At that time, we revisited a policy that was established before my joining the board in 2008, where every commissioner was granted $4,000 of expense on a yearly basis. And if they put those items on the agenda, in the beginning of the year, we didn't have to drag them through on an individual basis. That also applied to any other elected office and their ability to put those items down. That item passed. But what did not pass and was not accepted was the transparency of the monthly allowance that we use, where each issued a monthly allowance to be used at our leisure. The proposal says each commissioner shall be allocated an annual conference and training budget with an amount to be determined according to the annual budget process. Conference and training funds not used by an individual commissioner during each respective budgetary year will be returned to the general fund. At current, there's an opportunity if, for instance, I didn't use mine, I could offer it to Tim if he was using double the amount. And so that's my proposed amendment. Another language is at current, we each get a stipend for our cell phone. A number of board members utilize additional dollars above and beyond our stipend for printer cartridges and other expenses. My proposal says cell phone expenses, printer cartridges, along with any expense $50 or less, are not eligible for reimbursement and can be paid for out of that monthly allowance. Next item is broadcasting. It's come to my attention that there's a growing number of cities, townships, and counties that are using a best practice that gives board work sessions the ability to be observed from people that don't have an ability to get to the boardroom and can be seen. And so my language on that one is all regular meetings of the Carver County Board of Commissioners are streamed live and recorded for on-demand viewing via YouTube. All work sessions are streamed live with the option to join remotely. I'm calling to order to the meeting and to the adjournment of the meeting's regular session. Again, a best practice that's seen by a lot of others. Next up is preparation and distribution. I think we've talked about this on a couple of occasions. My proposed language is the county administrator shall include an item on the proposed agenda at least 3 days prior to the meeting for which the agenda is to be prepared. Any person for any reason at any time may move any consent item to the agenda. And any duly elected official may add any agenda item that may have a material impact or requested by the district or county stakeholders. At current, I believe we're the only city, township, or county that doesn't allow anybody to pull anything off consent and needs a first, a second, and a majority vote. I believe that flies in the face of representative democracy. And then finally, if we move down to the last item, which is proposed to move ahead the board packet. Sometimes we talked about transparency. We also talked about being able to have a chance to adequately review. A couple times during the course of the year, that wasn't the case for reasons that were beyond us. But what I'm proposing is the board agenda packet, including meeting agenda and supporting materials, shall be received digitally by each member of the board no later than Friday preceding the regular Tuesday meeting. I think far too often we receive some items on Monday or Tuesday that could have been received on Friday with adequate time to digest. So I will ask that a friendly amendment be inclusive of these things that were put the taxpayer first, lead transparency, they're predictable, give us a chance to plan ahead and give some certainty for our staff.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
That is a motion to accept all those as a unit, excuse me. Sure. We have a motion and a second to accept those as a unit. Any more discussion on the discussion on the amendment?
Yeah, I guess I'm confused because there was a motion second on the floor, and then there's another motion second. Could we have two on the floor? I thought the board operating rules.
It's an amendment. If I understand, Commissioner Ruderman is amending the original motion.
Oh, okay. I do not wish to accept the amendment.
You wish to comment as to why?
No, at this point, we have a second to the amendment. So now we're having a discussion on the amendment, the amended motion. And your point is you would, Commissioner Lynch, what are you saying on the
original motion maker? I do not accept the amendment. I believe these are unnecessary. We've operated without these rules.
Yeah, but at this point, Commissioner Lynch, you don't have to accept.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to vote on the proposed amendment. And it's
sorry.
Any other discussion on the proposed amendment? All I can say is there's a lot of these items that are listed there, some that have more, in my mind, legitimacy than others, but as a whole unit, I can't support the whole unit being passed at that point. Any other discussion on the proposed amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of the proposed amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion fails. The amendment fails on a 2-3 vote. Now we're back to discussion on the original the original proposed
Main motion.
Main motion, thank you. Main motion. Any more discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the main motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2. With that, we have the operating rules in order. Item number 4, then moving on the agenda, is to adopt the schedule of the regular meetings for 2024.
Mr. Chair.
I'll give this Administrator Hampton.
Yeah, not much explanation needed. We do this every year. We did our best to try and match last year. Of course, as we move through the year, there are typically changes, adjustments we can add, move around as you desire. But it's nice to have the meetings on the schedule if we're pretty sure we're going to hold them all. So again, following last year's pattern is basically what we have in front of you for consideration.
Any questions for Mr. Administrator Hamsey?
Mr. Chair, Administrator, one question. I know that there was movement on the first week in November last year. Do we need to move that this year to the 12th, or should we keep it on November 5th?
Administrator Hamsey.
Hesitating because, no, Mr. Chair, that was in part around deer hunting, and that's been done for a number of years, but deer hunting is in 2024 is November 12th.
Thank you.
One that I personally checked. Thank you.
Any other questions for Administrator Hamsey? Not, is there a motion to? Motion by
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Workman, second by Commissioner Fahey, to adopt the meeting schedule for 2024 as presented. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Frog in my throat. Okay, item number 6 on the agenda, committee appointments and assignments. You have the list of committees in front of you. We can go through them individually, might make them easiest. Association of Minnesota County Board of Directors, I'll stay as the appointee. Commissioner Fahey.
I'm okay with that, sir.
As alternate. AMC Environmental Natural Resources, Commissioner Lynch.
Sure.
Okay. I'll stay with the general government, Health and Human Services.
That's fine.
Okay. Public Safety, Ms. Fahey.
That's fine.
Mr. Workman, Transportation. AMC voting delegates, we're all listed there, along with Mr. Hamsey, Lyndon Rogent, and Heather Goodwin. AMC Metropolitan Governance Task Force, Kitchen Cabinet.
I'm unable to attend that meeting.
Okay, is there an alternate that would, or somebody else would like to take Commissioner Workman's spot on that Kitchen Cabinet? Do you, Commissioner Workman, can you tell us when those meetings probably would be meeting?
Right now, about every week at 3 o'clock.
What day? Any day of the week?
Let me check. Mr. Chair, I've been participating in those, by the way, and I will continue to do that. And they will be wrapping up once the task force, I think, once the main, I don't know what they call it, the main panel makes their recommendations to the legislature. Let me double check, see if I have.
Remind everybody, Commissioner Workman, what the Kitchen Cabinet, what their main goal was.
This was an expanded group to create input into the legislative request to review the metropolitan governance. I think AMC appointed Bingham from Washington County, if I'm correct. So this group, the intent of this group was to have a voice by the remaining metropolitan counties, to, in particular, Bingham, as she, is it Bingham?
Yes.
As she provides direct input into the main group making recommendations to the legislature. So I think it is important to have, for me, to have some assistance from a board member, although you don't need to participate in every one of these, but other commissioners are attending.
Anybody showing interest?
Mr. Chair, I do see at least one meeting, January 22nd. It's a Monday at 2 o'clock. I think as Tom had mentioned, talk about weekly. There's one on Monday, January 8th at 2 o'clock. So it looks like Mondays at 2, weekly at least for the next month or two.
To get ready for the legislative session.
To provide input into the main individual from Washington County. Yes.
Anybody have an interest in joining that group Mondays? Sounds like 2 o'clock.
These are remote meetings also, by the way.
If not, we'll leave that one open for now.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, what I would do then is I would have to defer back to who's ever on the legislative committee for guidance if needed. We'll see where that group ends up. They're getting into some pretty, they're getting in the weeds on some of the issues. So I feel like I'm venturing out a little far sometimes. So I'll circle back to the legislative committee if we don't have an appointment there.
Sounds good. CAP Board of Directors, I'll stay on that. Commissioner Ruderman, you want to be alternate?
Sure. Yep, that's fine.
Arts Committee, Ruderman and Workman.
That's fine.
Okay. CDA, Fahey.
You know, before we do that one,
Yes,
Mr. Chair, this is such an important board, and I know that we're in a state of flux for a lot of reasons, and it's probably the most dynamic decade in CDAs, not only because of the dollars and the things that have been approved, but also the future need that's here. And I just did a quick look. Our liaison in the last half of the year did not attend half of the meetings for that CDA. I think we deserve better there. So I'd be happy to step up and be that role for the CDA this year.
well, Commissioner Fahey, you were on there. You want to give that up, or you want to stay on the CDA at this point?
I would like to stay on it, Mr. Chair, and yeah, just unfortunate with the schedule and other meetings that took place. Well, I definitely do enjoy the CDA, and
with your long history on the CDA, and you're right, CDA is going through some obviously important times for the county. We'll appoint Fahey to that and keep Commissioner Ruderman as our alternate at this point.
Mr. Chair, I just ask, I think it's just inferred and assumed, but a professional courtesy to let me know if you're unable to attend, JP. Thank you.
That is correct. If the main commissioner is unable to, for whatever reason, that's why we do have alternates, and we should utilize them. That's for sure.
And also, Mr. Chair, if there is any other board member that's interested in being the alternate for the CDA, if I would be open for any individuals that would like to do that.
Okay, thank you. I will keep that on the list. CDA has always been obviously an important issue for the county.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
And just a point of clarification, this is a required vote for these appointments, and you typically do that as a slate. If there is disagreement, I would suggest removing any individual items, and that would require a motion second and majority vote.
Okay, let's vote it as a slate, but at this point, I'll make a motion that we appoint Commissioner Fahey as our representative and Commissioner Ruderman as our alternate, and myself as an alternate, the second alternate at this point. Is there a second to that motion?
One second.
Motion made and second. Any more discussion on that? If not, all in favor of appointing Commissioner Fahey as the designated, and alternate would be Commissioner Uderman, and I'll be a second alternate myself. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with one person voting against.
Two, I think, Commissioner Daniel.
Okay, 2 against. Passes 3-2 then. Carver County leaders. Carver County leaders. Uderman and Lynch. That Western leaders?
So the entire county, Mr. Chair. And, you know, by the way, on that one, I'll be asking the group if they want to continue. They seem to be languishing a little bit for attendance and struggling for topics. So that will be, and Nick's helping me with that. We'll discuss that with that group. We have a meeting in January, Nick.
We do.
Okay, that first January meeting. So it might go away, it might not, depending on the interest.
Well, if it stays around, Commissioner Uderman and Commissioner Lynch, you both still want to be on there?
Sure.
Thank you.
It's usually posted too, because I think everyone has attended it.
It has in the past, right?
Yeah.
Community Leaders Eastern, and that's myself, Commissioner Uderman, Commissioner Workman, and Commissioner Fahey. Everybody still want to be on that? Okay, yep, keep that. Court. Well, I don't know what the heck. Courts Committee. We have Commissioner Fahey and myself, alternate Commissioner Lynch. Well, thank you very much. We'll continue.
Sure.
Thank you. Strategic National Stockpile. I'll continue on that. Mr. Hemsey and Mr. Scott, Richard Scott. Fair Board. Lynch is our liaison, alternate for Fahey. Okay.
I'm okay with that.
If somebody has something else to speak up, don't let me go on without. Greater MSP, Commissioner Uderman.
That's fine.
Greater MSP Partner Advisory Council. We're just going with Mr. Swanson. Okay, hearing none, we'll go on with that. Hennepin County Workforce Task Force, Commissioner Uderman is our liaison, alternate Commissioner Workman. Yep.
I'm not gonna be able to make those either.
Okay, it was. Before we choose another alternate, what's the date on that? Commissioner Uderman, do you?
I'm looking at Heather, because Kate keeps us honest on that one.
We meet the last week of the month, Tuesday mornings, 8 a.m.
And then there's, I attended Bloomington too when they had their Hennepin Carver meetings. I can't think of that.
Quarterly.
Yep, quarterly.
And they kind of vary on.
If you want to put me down as an alternate, Commissioner Uderman, I take it you're there 99% of the time?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll fill in as their alternate. Okay. Historical Society, Commissioner Workman, alternate Commissioner Fahey. Okay. Health Insurance, LMC, myself, and Uderman as an alternate. We'll continue in that role. Ditches, our favorite subject, ditches. Anybody want to change ditches? If not, we'll keep it just the way it's listed right now.
Okay with that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and I see nobody else's head moving, so we'll keep the ditches as listed. Law Library, I'll continue on that. Legislative Committee, Commissioner Fahey and Workman, and Commissioner Uderman as an alternate.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna step back from that committee also.
Okay.
I could prove to have the alt move up. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, and I'll sit in as unless Commissioner Lynch wants to be an alternate.
Oh, you can, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
And we'll appoint Commissioner Uderman as the main person. Okay, along with the Commissioner Fahey, I should say. Law Library, Commissioner Uderman is our liaison. I said library board, not law library, library board.
Yep, that's fine.
Lower Minnesota, Commissioner Uderman and myself. Okay, we'll continue that. MCIT voting, Administrator Hemsey and Sonia. Okay, MELSA, Commissioner Uderman.
That's fine.
Okay, makes sense. Mental Health Advisory Committee, Commissioner Lynch with Uderman as alternate.
That's fine.
Okay. Yep. MESP, I'll stay there along with Commissioner Fahey. Executive Board, I'll take that, and Fahey will be our alternate. It's okay. Emergency Service Radio, Susan will continue to be that, I figure, with Deb as our alternate.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Diane has reached out to the various individuals.
August, yeah. 9 and 11, same group. Micah, Commissioner Workman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm usually not able to make those meetings, so I'll step down from that.
That is okay. We have both the appointee and the second person. Actually, there's 2 openings there. Anybody can make that meeting. When is that? That's about the middle of the afternoon.
1 o'clock.
And it's usually held down at
Right behind the Capitol.
Anybody make that work in their schedule? If not, we'll leave that open for right now. Let everybody think about that one also. Minnehaha Creek Watershed, Commissioner Workman and alternate Commissioner Uderman. Okay. Extension, I'll stay on that. Commissioner Lynch, yep, stay there. Minnesota River Valley Regional Rail, Commissioner Workman with Fahey, alternate.
Mr. Chairman, I am no longer able to make that meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Fahey, you want to step up to the...
When are those meetings held, Tom?
Monthly, 3rd Wednesday, 8:30 in the morning.
And those are all live down in Granite Falls or
Granite or Gaylord.
And as we're looking, will you take it?
I will.
Okay. How about an alternate? Anybody want to be an alternate for that railroad? Let's keep that alternate open so we can think about that. Mobility, SmartLink, Commissioner Fahey?
Yes.
Mosquito control, I'll stay on that. Commissioner Workman?
Mr. Chairman, I'm no longer to attend those meetings. Able.
Okay, we need an alternate or a second person there. Remind everybody, Commissioner Workman, what day they are.
4th Wednesday, 9:15.
9:15, that is correct. And actually, our first meeting is the 4th, 9:15 mosquito control. I'll stay on to the same place as MESB. We need a second person if anybody's available. Park Commission, Lynch, liaison, alternate would be Uderman. Okay,
That's fine.
Planning Commission, Fahey, Lynch. Excellent.
Mr. Chair, I just want to bring it to the attention of the people that in the back half of 2023, our liaison missed 60% of the meetings. Are we sure that that's the individual that we want representing us on the Planning Commission?
At this point, we'll leave it that way. But let's make sure that we have the communication out there that somebody can fill in if the regular person is gone.
mean, these are important things, Commissioner Degler.
I agree.
I mean, economic development is tied to that. We've been reminded many times that it's largely a function of the rural community. And it just seems like 60% of the time we're missing our meetings. Are we really at service to the people? I just have to ask that. I don't know that I could support, I don't know if I could support the current appointment.
And since I'm, excuse me, Mr. Chair, since I'm the chair or the liaison to that committee, and there again with various conflicts with scheduling, just with the knowledge base I bring to that board, and just to be able to work with the staff in a very positive way. And I don't think it would be very helpful with the disruption that would take place if.
Okay, at this point, the appointment is Commissioner Fahey and alternate Commissioner Lynch.
Mr. Chair, it's not just a liaison, it's the only sizable board that it's a voting member. So it really puts our staff at a disadvantage when we're looking for a quorum or a number of votes. So I'd like to take that one to a vote, if you don't mind.
Okay. Do we have a motion? I'll make the motion to appoint Commissioner Fahey with alternate Commissioner Lynch. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Oppose?
Aye.
Motion carries on a 3-2 vote. The point made on all of these, we've gone through a bunch of the committees that, yeah, it's important that people, if you're appointed to the committee, show up to the committee. And I think maybe that's something we should probably put on our regular agenda. We've had it in the past years that we have basically reports towards the end of our meeting and what committees we've been able to attend, what committees and what some of the major work that these committees have done. It's something that was actually taken off our agenda a number of years ago because for a lack of time or lack of whatever, we just didn't get to the reports. But I think we'll have Diane put that back on so that we all, when we go to our regular meetings, that we can report back some of the things that are going on at these committees. Because Commissioner Ruderman is very correct on pointing out many times Carver County in a lot of meetings, I'm asked the same thing. Hey, where is your other appointees to not only the committee that I happen to be sitting on, but at some of these other board meetings? And it is important. We were, and we should be continuing to go. Our work isn't just today. It's our work is out of these committee meetings that we attend. With that,
Mr. Chair, I agree it's important, but you do have an agenda, the format listed in your operating rules. So if you go back to page 10 of your packet, item B,
10 of the packet.
The board wants to formally change that. That was formally changed. Well, it's been quite a while. I don't remember, 10 months plus. You see the format.
Okay, so my suggestion of putting reports at the end of the meeting, since we already approved the order, we don't have to officially do it. It doesn't have to be part of the agenda printed, but I think we'll have to, just as a time place saver, that a person reports back as to something. But good point that we already approved the order, our operating rules, so we won't change it this year.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
Yep. Oh, good. Thank you. We were at the Regional Hauling Licensing Board. Commissioner Workman, alternate Lynch. Okay, we're still okay with that. Riley, Purgatory, Bluff Creek, Workman, Degler, liaison. Okay, good there. Southwest Corridor Transportation Coalition, Workman and Fahey. Okay, okay. And Degler as the alternate, yes. State CHS Advisory Committee, Mr. Scott and alternate Fahey. Transportation Advisory Board, the TAB, Commissioner Workman.
Chairman, I'm no longer able to make those.
Okay. Commissioner Fahey, you were the alternate. You want to,
Unless someone else would.
anybody else want to be on the tab? At this point, we'll leave it open for this week. And then we'll go on from there. Water Management Organization, Commissioner Lynch and Commissioner Fahey. Okay, yep.
Mr. Chair, clarification backing up on the tab. So, Mr. Fahey, did you agree to be the main appointment, or you want to hold that?
We'll see if anyone else wants to step up. I'll still continue to be the alternate.
Okay, so at this time the appointment's open. Okay, thank you.
The appointment's open, but the alternate is Commissioner Fahey, unless that would change.
We'll put the open items back on the agenda as we typically do. You can reconsider it.
Correct. With those verbal appointments, is there a motion to accept all the appointments as we just discussed?
Moved.
Motion by Commissioner Whitterman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Workman. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so the CDA and Planning Commission have already been approved, so you're approving the remaining slate as discussed?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we're moving on to item 6, appointment to the advisory committees. We have a. Did I hear something? Okay.
No, you're good.
With that, we have the advisory committees in front of us. We'll take them in order that's there. We have a few additional applicants that might not be listed. Arts Committee, we have one vacancy at large. We have one applicant. Commissioner Ruderman, that's your district, is that?
Yeah, Megan's done a nice job. I'd move approval of her being on the Arts Committee.
Okay, sir. Let's see, motion made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chair, not to nitpick here. There's two Megans, so Megan
White.
Megan White, yeah.
Thank you, White.
Okay.
Good catch, thank you. CDA, we have one vacancy with at least 3 applicants.
Actually, there's a fourth. I would like to make a motion for Troy Williams.
Any other nominations for that? If not, is there a second to Troy? I'll second it.
Mr. Chair,
Discussion.
Quality applicants. I see Mr. Yetzer's on there. I see Troy Williams, J. Rowe. Daryl's been serving there for a long time. Also on spirit of transparency, my appointment to District 3, Molly Kovamaki, submitted her letter of resignation as of yesterday, effective the 1st of January. It's been shared with our administrator. There's some copies too if you want to see that. I intend to hold that position open until February, not only to look at the climate of where we're at with the CDA and make the best appointment, but also to give time to harvest some candidates that we need to serve on this in a balanced board.
Okay, let it be noted that there is another opening on the CDA. It is in District 3. Just if anybody's watching it, they might have an interest. We'll hold that position open for now.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Fahey.
I would be in favor of making a motion to accept the application from J. Rowe and also Troy Williams to fill the CDA board.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Mr. Chair, I think you already have did you get a motion and a second for Troy Williams?
Yes, so we should vote on that
doubling
first.
up there.
Okay, I'm sorry. Any more discussion on Troy Williams? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Troy will be, and now,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to fill in the application J. Rowe to serve on the CDA board for District 3.
Mr. Chair, I'll support that, but I also want to note that it's somewhat unconventional for somebody to go outside a district. It seems to be something that Commissioner Fahey has done regularly in my time on the board anyway. And I think the professional courtesy is that if it's your district, you lead that appointment. So I enthusiastically support J. Rowe to the CDA. I think it's more prudent that we hold off in the current circumstances until February, but I'm not going to hold up his appointment.
so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, was that a second, Commissioner Rudin?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of appointing Mr. J. Rowe to the CDA, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Library Board, we have 3 current vacancies, 4, 5, and 1 youth at large.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Lynch.
I'd like to appoint Daniel McDonald.
I second. That's an amazing applicant. Fantastic.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to Daniel McDonald. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. What position is Commissioner Lynch? What position would he fill?
4.
Commissioner 4. Okay, we have 5, District 5, and the youth at large. Any other nominations?
Also, Mr. Chair, I'm currently working on talking to some individuals to fill the District 5 spot for the library board.
Okay.
I move approval of Tenley for that large student.
Tinley Rutledge for the large. Okay, we have a motion for Tinley Rutledge. I'll second that. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of the motion to appoint Tinley, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we have 1 District 5 applicant that will hold over till future meeting. Mental Health Advisory Committees, we can have up to 14 members, 9 of which are mandated. We have a number of applicants. Anybody want to make a motion to approve any of those applicants?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept Sandy and also Stacy. I did talk to Stacy in November of last year, and she is a very active member in that committee and wants to continue to serve.
Motion by Commissioner Fahey to accept both Sandra Menzel and Stacy Zellman.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ruderman. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a couple more members on that committee. Extension Committee, we have vacancies in District 1, 4, and a youth appointment.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to place a nomination for District 4, Carmen Giesinger.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion on Carmen? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'd like to hold open the District 1 at this point, but there's another applicant for the youth appointment.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept Lisa, I won't be able to pronounce her last name, for the youth appointment.
Second, and with comment, we had Michaela Johnson serve that role. I think it was one of the first, if not the first, youth appointment, and she brought such a plethora of knowledge. She is a full ride scholarship person in a very intense engineering school in Indiana, and I had a chance to connect with her family over the holiday break, and she continues to bring value to our community. She's exploring how they can take STEM from their engineering school and put it into our libraries and serve our community, even in her time going to school in Indiana. So what an important place for a youth appointment, and I think Leisha will do a great job.
Any other discussion? I'll just comment that Commissioner Lynch and myself both had the opportunity to serve with that youth appointment, and you were absolutely right. She did add to the committee.
Michaela was incredible.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the appointment to the Extension Committee of the Youth Appointment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Park Commission, 2 vacancies, 1 and 5. I'll hold open number 1 for at least another month. District 5, you have an appointment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to appoint Mr. Knight to continue on the park board. He is a very good addition to the board, and Kellen Schmidt, who has also applied. If you're looking for an individual to represent District 1, Kellen has been on the Board of Adjustment for the county in the past, would be a very good candidate.
I'll hold it open for 1 more meeting. If not, we'll go back to Kellen. Thank you. All in favor of the motion of appointing Mr. Knight to the committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board of Personnel Appeals. Applicant Connie Long from District 1. I'll move that she be reappointed. Say is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Planning Commission. Vacancies in District 1 and 4. I'll move Greg.
Grazini.
Grazini, thank you. Thank you.
And I'd like to move Scott Wakefield.
Second as 1 motion. Is there a motion made and seconded? Any discussion? All in favor of appointing Greg and Scott back to the board, say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Water Management Organization. 2 vacancies, 4 and Crow River.
If we could, Mr. Chair, we have 2 excellent candidates. One, Mike Lynch, and the other one's Mike Wagner. Mr. Wagner would take over the Crow River watershed.
Okay.
He's a Class A water tech.
Mr. Lynch isn't too bad either. So that was a motion. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. That should complete the appointments to the advisory committees.
Tim, you were pretty busy. You got some great candidates out of District 4, huh?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, really good.
Item number 5, approve the minutes of the December 19th, 2023 regular session. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lynch, second by Commissioner Workman to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The consent agenda before us, we have 12, actually subtract 1 11 items on there because we moved the one 8.5. We moved that one 8.2. 8.2. We moved that to 9. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented as a whole?
Second, with comment, I just wanted to point out 8.9 Schramm's Winery, agritourism, and the wine scene that we have here in Carver County is coveted by many, and their expansion is just phenomenal. The number of people that they serve and are able to showcase Destination Carver County is amazing. So I second.
That's a motion and a second with Commissioner Fahey and Commissioner Uderman. Any discussion on the consent? Any more discussion, I should have said. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. With that, it brings us to 9.1, agency issued handguns. At this point, Sheriff Cameron, I think you're going to take that. Take it away, Sheriff.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you for having me today and giving me a few minutes to talk about this. I think that the board action narrative that's in your packet sufficiently outlines what I intend to do and the rationale for it. But I do want to provide just a little bit of added context and a little bit of backdrop, frame it up for you in the decision-making process.
Yeah, explain to the public who's listening that doesn't have the background information. that you provided to us. What you trying to do?
So there are, in the law enforcement world, there are typically, as it relates to firearms programs, there are agency-issued firearms, it's really common, and employee-owned firearms is also really common. And so there's really not a right or wrong way to do it. It's just agencies make decisions based on what seems to work for them. Larger agencies typically have agency-issued firearms. Smaller agencies typically are employee-owned. So looking at Carver County, going back to the 90s, you might remember in the 80s and earlier, cops all carried revolvers. Around the late 80s, early 90s, then semi-automatic kind of became the norm. And in Carver County, we had employee-owned revolvers, semi-autos. I can only go back to 1990 because that's when I started. And I remember this. And so we went with that, and we had employees who carried revolvers all through the 90s. And Bud Olson was elected sheriff in 98, began his term in 1999. And somewhere around the 2000s, he drove the agency to get out of the revolvers entirely, and every employee or deputy sheriff would carry a semi-auto. We did some work internally and decided that it would be 2 models from each of 2 manufacturers for a total of 4, right?
Sheriff, I hate to interrupt, but some people don't know what's the difference between a revolver and a semi-automatic.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm not really sure how to explain it other than one is a firearm that has a cylinder with bullets in it, and as you pull the trigger, the cylinder rotates and presents the next,
like you saw in the Western movies,
like you would see in the spaghetti westerns, right? And a semi-auto, it feeds the bullets from the bottom typically, and as the slide comes back, it ejects the spent cartridge, it loads a new cartridge, and you fire it that way. Both basically have the same function, though, insofar as there's the grip end of it, and there's the dangerous end of it, and pull the trigger, bullets come out the dangerous end. That's a gross simplification, but to just help with that. So anyways, going back, Sheriff Olson Bud Olson, that is, drove the policy to 2 manufacturers, 2 calibers of ammunition, and so that narrowed it down quite a bit for us, and everybody was carrying semi-auto. It was also deputy owned, and for those who worked with Bud Olson, he really liked a phased-in approach to things, so he would set things out, and it would take a couple of years to get to the end game of everybody there. But that was Bud's methodology, and it worked, and so that's how we got to where we are today with employee-owned semi-autos. Now, what happened over the years is technology changed, manufacturers came out with different products, employees started to, they liked this firearm over that, and frankly, they're all pretty good firearms. It's a Chevy, Ford, Dodge pickup argument, if you ask me. They're all pretty good today. And so because that happened, and this was over Bud Olson and Sheriff Jim Olson, we started to add more firearms and add more and more and more, and the deputies were coming every year with, we want this, we want that. And so I made a policy decision shortly after being elected that I really just want to regulate the ammunition, because that's the part that is the most concerning on if there's a use, it's the ammunition that actually creates the wound cavity and whatnot. And it also then ended the argument of, should I have a Chevy or a Ford, or, pick your brand, right? And it also, as we were recruiting, one of the things that we hear when we hire new employees is, yeah, great, come work for us. Now you got to go buy this firearm that they may not already own. And so their startup cost to be a new employee is over $1,000, give or take, depending upon which make and model they choose. And so that's a little bit of a hit when you're hiring. And so by allowing them to bring in a firearm they may very well have already owned, and it opened up options on the price scale too by adopting that policy. That seemed to be an okay solution at the time. No. So fast forward. So 2022-ish, 2023, there's the one of the more common, popular law enforcement firearms is currently in litigation over the firearm discharging without operator input. And generally speaking, when we see an unintentional discharge, we almost always assume it's operator error. And you know, the gun doesn't go off unless your finger or something else pops the trigger, right? I mean, that's just the general mechanics of it. And so we left it at that. We said, okay, they'll sort it out. If it's a design flaw, whatever, it'll get sorted out. And then we started seeing videos on YouTube where this is actually a pretty good video where a young woman, it's a cop in somewhere in the South, is carrying her firearm. She asserts holstered in her duty bag. She's walking through the police parking lot, and the firearm goes off in the bag, shoots her in the pelvis. And it's the security camera from the police parking lot is how we captured this, or how they captured that. Well, she asserts it's in the holster. Everybody else says it couldn't have been, it wouldn't have happened. I don't know. It's under litigation. There's 100 plaintiffs against the manufacturer. So, but because I saw this video of clearly, I mean, you can see she's just carrying a bag and it goes off. So that prompted me to go, all right, well now what? Because I know more than half of our deputies carry that particular model. So I talked to risk management who consulted with MCIT. And MCIT, being risk averse, says, well, the prudent action is to not allow firearm. So, okay, fair enough. Now what? So I went to the employee relations, Mr. Hemsey, and we contacted the union because they're employee owned. We went and said, look, we have this problem. We're not interested in any unintentional negligent discharges of these firearms. More than half of you carry them. And we made an offer to either provide early uniform allowance, because uniform allowance is paid in July. We said we would pay in January, and you could use that money to purchase a new firearm. The idea is to get these out of our inventory and sooner than later. Or alternatively, we offered to provide an interest-free loan where we'll give you the money, go buy the firearm, we'll withhold whatever the amount is out of your check to get it paid off in 18 months or whatever number we agreed to. And the union declined, I guess is how to say. You know, there's in their estimation, there is no problem so big that it cannot be resolved with giving their members more money. And I didn't want to just hand over money to the union, to the membership, without getting even if you're going to own it, we're going to do it. That was going to be a quick, easy, simple, no added cost to the taxpayers. And I looked, when they declined that prompted me to, before I made that decision, really look into it and decide and figure out where we were at. So what I learned is, and you probably won't hear many elected officials make this admission, but the policy decision that I made to regulate ammunition and not makes and models of firearms got away from me. Was probably not the best decision I ever made. And we looked at the numbers of firearms, what they're carrying, and the calibers, and what that means for training. Because now if I'm the firearms instructor and Commissioner Workman is having problems shooting or has a problem with the firearm. Now I kind of have to learn how his firearm functions to help him get through this training glitch or whatever. And so there's just some inefficiencies in there that I failed to anticipate. But still had the same issue with new employees, walking at the startup cost, because whether it's $1,000 firearm or a $500 firearm, it's still, come work for us. Go spend your own money first. Also, I have some employees who are proficient shooters, but they're swapping. They're in and out, carrying this gun, that gun, periodically throughout the year, and I find that to be a problem. So, that's what brings us here today. Recognizing that we have an obligation to provide our deputies a safe, reliable firearm program, looking to move to agency-issued firearms. I think what it does is it standardizes the uniform equipment issue sort of thing. It standardizes the ammo purchase. We currently buy 3 different types of ammunition, calibers, that is, 9, 40, 45 are the 3 that we carry. We'll limit that to just 1, which creates some efficiencies and savings, because we always buy in bulk, but when you buy more of one in the bigger bulk, it gets a little bit cheaper. Standardizes the maintenance. I don't have a number that I can put on it, but if we all have the same firearm, I can have 1 or 2 employees who are armors who are able to disassemble, repair, replace the typical parts that break. I can do all that really easily in-house. When I have 8, 10, 12 different manufacturers, having people who are trained and certified for all of those different manufacturers gets to be a little bit of a glitch. And I don't really have an appetite to send them all out for third-party repairs. Minimize the startup costs for new employees. I think that's a pretty big deal. Retention for evidentiary purposes. This sounds silly, and hopefully we don't ever have to do this, but when an officer is involved in a shooting and this person dies, it's ruled a homicide. As a matter of routine, we retain all evidence of homicides forever. We don't dispose of it. What I learned in a different officer-involved shooting was we don't have the lawful authority to do that with other people's property. So if the employee says, I want my firearm back, we have to give it to them. We could litigate it, but we're going to lose, I think is the direction the county. If the last case is an indicator, absent a change in the law, we're going to lose that. And I think it's important to retain that evidence for, for trials, for defending ourselves in civil action, but also, we save it for every criminal cases because of the appeals processes and, any allegations of wrongful imprisonment, any of those sorts of things. So, if we own the firearms, it's ours. We can take it and put it on a shelf. And so, anyways, it eliminates arguments for increasing allowances for uniform allowances to maintain equipment. One of the things we do is as we ask employees to add components like this, as technology improves, there's a sighting system. So we call it a red dot sighting system. But basically, it's a heads-up display. You look through a loop, and there's a red dot in that loop. And once it's sighted in, wherever that red dot is where the bullet is going to go. Pretty accurate. It's really fast. It improves the shooting accuracy, speed, and proficiency. So we asked our employees to put that on. Well, we're $500, $300, whatever they are. And of course, the employees balk at having to add that. Even though they have a generous uniform allowance, they use that as an argument to increase that. So And it's a fair argument because it is an expensive thing. So anyways, all of that combined, I just think that the agency, you know, has to weigh these decisions. Personal firearms agency owned. I think there's no right answer, but it's a judgment call, and in my judgment, I think we are best served through agency firearms. Now, that was a long way to get to. I'm asking for in the board, the RBA, $92,000 to from. There's a typo in here. It's actually 2022 year-end savings. We don't know what 2023 is yet because we're only the second day into this year and it hasn't been calculated. But I'm asking for the board to approve the funding from that piece, which gives me some budgetary flexibility in 2024. And with that, I'll stand for some
Questions for the sheriff?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of questions on this job. I learned a lot, I guess. I'm guessing the audience did as well. I didn't know a lot of that. So thanks for the history. Thanks also as a leader that says, I might not got it right. And now you're getting it right. That's rare. 3 questions. 1, what happens to old guns? 2, the replacement cost. Is that something we should budget and plan for? And 3, if this is typically a bucket that comes out of the uniform, are we able to pull back dollars associated with that? Because we'll now be furnishing the firearm.
3 different questions.
Yeah, no, excellent question. So the firearms currently in play are employee owned. And so they would continue to own them. And they can do whatever they choose with those firearms. There was one about the pulling back. I think that, you know, that's the uniform allowance is a collective bargaining issue. And I think that would be something we would have to have at the negotiating table. How that's going to shake out, you know, I don't really know. But
then the plan for replacement costs.
And then the plan for replacement costs, you know, yes, we will have to have some of that built in. I would anticipate we would work with Mr. Hemsey and Mr. Frischman to build a plan, not unlike we do for radios. You know, we look at what we expect the life expectancy to be, and then we just swirl away a little bit annually to build that, and then roll it year over year until we are on the replacement schedule.
What is a typical replacement? And my understanding is a lot of firearms hold their value, or at least maybe even increase. Is there a notion that this is a break even, so the newer models actually cost less than their?
Yeah, you know, they're not. The price of them is not budget buster sorts of things. They do hold their value. It's a common practice to, upon retirement, sell the firearm to the employee who will take it with them. Like badges are another one where that's kind of a common practice. I don't know what the retention or what the longevity is. I mean, they last a long time. And you know, my dad has all of my granddad's firearms and from years and years ago. I think what's more likely to happen in this circumstance is technology is going to drive that. And so they will likely be cycled out more so because of changes in technology they have, because of age or just wear and tear.
Thank you.
Other questions for the sheriff?
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Sheriff. Definitely very thorough, and the information is there. Are the deputies on board with this change?
You know, that's hit or miss, and that's a great question. And Mr. Hemsey and I have talked about that quite a bit because we've worked very hard to keep the work group happy. And you know, we're going to have some employees who are just married to that, whatever they have, right? They bought it because they like it, probably. And, but I also have some employees who have just flat out said, if I wasn't a cop, I wouldn't own a handgun. And so they would be happy to receive it. You know, the policy has not been finalized yet. I think that as I look, there's While there is agency issued and employee issued, there's always the hybrid model. There are some agencies who, here's the firearm that we issue. If you want your own under policy, here are the approved models. And it would be, but then through policy, it's up to you to own it, maintain it. We assume no responsibility for fixing it. When a spring breaks or the extractor breaks or any of those sorts of things, that's on you. And, you know, I haven't ruled that out yet as a policy decision.
So we're going to approve the agency issued handguns and then the policy is going to come after?
Well, you're approving the money. You might recall, sir, that the setting sheriff's office policy is the sheriff's responsibility. Your responsibility relates to the budgeting. And so I'm looking, and what this does is it gives me the flexibility. I'm going to do this in 2024. What I would like to be able to do is use money from 2022 year end to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Lynch.
Great, thorough. My first, I think you answered it already, but normally when someone leaves employment, you usually sell it to the individual or you just turn it in. What is it?
Agencies, we haven't decided what we're going to do yet because we don't do this. Some agencies upon retirement will allow the person to purchase the firearm and take it with them. A 3-year employee would be expected to return the firearm.
Okay. And then to Gail's question about a revolver or semi-automatic, and the sheriff was very accurate. It's a cylinder that spins around, but there was a shootout in Florida, an FBI shootout, and that's why the revolver is very difficult to reload. Whereas a semi-automatic, you slap a new magazine into it, it's very quick. That's why they switched over to that. I think JP had a great question about, my only question is, do you really want to go there? Because you're going to have some pushback, because when you get a cops come in all different sizes, people shoot 9mm and 45 and just get used to what you have. You're not going to have a happy person who's a avid 45 shooter who's going to have to shoot a 9mm now. But it's your decision, sir. I can see the advantages of having everything all the same.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and those arguments are not lost on me. What I have found is that those who are avid 45 shooters and are good at it, they're pretty good with 9mm and 40s and 357s, and they figure it out, right? And I look at, you know, agency issued firearms are the norm. With, you know, let's use the military. They got people all different shapes and sizes, and they pull it off. But you know, and that is part of the reason I'm looking at the hybrid model of policy, is because there will be people who have, you know, perhaps smaller than, you know, the firearms are generally manufactured for averages, right? And so you might have people smaller than average hands who it just doesn't fit for them. So I have to have a workable program for them. But I'm trying to get it contained, because as I pointed out earlier, it just got away from me.
When, Sheriff, anybody else have a question? If not, I'll wrap it up here. When is this policy going to take effect? If we approve this to you?
Yeah, well,
would you get these?
Well, it's a, you know, supply chain's an issue, right? And so we'll have to see to get all of the components. We would have to buy the firearms and all the components that go along with it. And then we have to have a training program for that, so that we can get people trained up to this firearm. You know, it'll take the better part of this year to do that. Okay.
And is this just the beginning? You're talking fire handguns now. How about rifles and whatever? Are there agency issued rifles and stuff, shotguns?
Excellent question. And we do have, The handgun is the only defensive weapon that we do not provide the employee. We provide them with their chemicals, their batons, the taser, the rifle. We provide every other weapon and the holsters and all that stuff that goes along with it. Just not the handgun. And you know, I can't speak to how or why that is. I do want to make one point of clarification, though, to make sure that people understand that the policy to open up the firearms is not what is totally driving this, and was not at an added cost to anyone. It's just, when I looked at this whole thing in the totality, you just learn some things that how the policy impacts hiring, how the numbers got a little bit out of control. I'm trying to shrink that back down a little bit. And so it's the totality of the circumstances, not just one issue.
And this is all public knowledge, but I don't think you actually mentioned what revolver are we looking at? Is this something that you want the public to know what our deputies are carrying around or not?
Sure. The intention is to go with a Glock 45 9mm. I know that sounds weird because 45 also happens to be a caliber, but it's the Glock Model 45 in 9mm. And a little bit of trivia for you. Glock, when they make a new firearm, calls the model sequentially with their patent numbers. So this is the 45th Glock patent, if anybody cares.
And just a little more
trivia. For Trivial Pursuit someday.
Is Glock an American product?
It's an Austrian-made firearm that is very common in law enforcement and military service globally.
Commissioner Workman.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think more importantly, what is the firearm that didn't want to behave and kind of caused this? It's, I think, important to the public. Is that readily available?
It is. It is a Sig Sauer P320 is the firearm and the model. And I want to be very clear on this point that it's an allegation. It's in litigation. Sig Sauer is saying there is no problem with the firearm. The 100 plaintiffs are asserting that there is. I don't know. There's a question mark next to it. There is not a question mark adjacent to any of the designs of the other models that are currently in use in our office.
I think we all learned way more about revolvers and firearms than I ever anticipated.
But I appreciate you all reminding me that I am verbose.
With that, we're looking for a motion. Second. Okay, motion by Commissioner Workman, second by Commissioner Ruderman to approve the funding for the purchase of agency-issued handguns and accessories. Any more? Commissioner Workman.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I made the motion. I'm all for this, but I will not take any phone calls from deputies who don't want to drive a Dodge Ram. What? Nobody.
So noted.
The sheriff and county attorney.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Sheriff, before you go, it was in the paper. Are we going to have to spend more money changing our logos on your patches because the state seal and state flag might change?
Well, you know, it's funny to mention because we've been talking about that internally about what this impact is to us because our badges sport the state seal, our shoulder patches do. We have things like that throughout our office. The lettering on our squad cars has the badge with the state seal, and so it will absolutely, if they make the change, prompt us to look at all of those sorts of things. And
unintended consequences, yeah, always a problem.
So we'll sort that out once the legislature gets done with it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
With that, it brings us to 9.2, creating a communications department. Mr. Nick Katavi, our Assistant County Administrator. Nick.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Logging here. See, Justin, can you pull it up on the screen?
We got some time, Tom. You can run down Dodge Ramsey some more.
The sheriff just bought one not too long ago.
Uh-oh. Police patrols here in my house.
This brings up another fact that we're going to be changing some of our audio visual technology.
Yeah, March can't come soon enough.
Right.
Should we take a 5-minute?
Yeah, I think you probably do this without your presentation.
Walk through, please.
All right. Well, thank you again, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'm here today to talk about the creation of a communications department within our Public Services Division. This has been a little while in the coming. I've been working many different plans on how to fill a vacancy and looking forward on how we can best serve Carver County residents. Really, the goals of this change are three. One is to enhance overall county communications. The second is to foster consistency in communication across our organization. And then the third is to leverage a higher level of expertise in communication strategy. With that, the main item I'm proposing today is to elevate the currently vacant communications manager position that was held by Eric previously to the Chief Communications Officer to manage this new department within Public Services Division. Other staffing would include 2 new positions that were included and approved in the 2024 budget. That includes a part-time communication specialist and then a full-time communication specialist within the Public Works Department. 2 existing employees would also report to this department. That would be the Public Works Communication Manager, that's Sarah's position currently, and then the Planning and Water Management Senior Outreach and Engagement Specialist, that's Madeline's position for reference. Today's request does not increase the total FTE allocation. What I'm looking to do is to elevate one of the existing positions. All the other ones are currently approved in the budget. It actually slightly decreases because I'm looking to utilize some of our stock funding for this. So overall, countywide, it would slightly decrease the FTE allocation. But again, within this area of more moving things around and elevating the position. So with that elevating of the position from the communications manager to a chief communications officer, that has a fiscal impact of an increase of $23,841.79. With that, I am providing funding options within the Public Services Division. This includes $12,000 from my professional services line. The reason for that I'm proposing that is we have not utilized those funds in several years. Historically, some of those funds have been used for architects and space planning, but since we did a master space plan, my thinking is we won't need those funds going forward. And then also some of those funds include cable casting, and with our AV upgrade, we're going to be bringing that cable casting service in-house once we have that upgrade made, so there'll be some cost savings there as well. In addition, I'm proposing $7,155 to come from the facility stock. Stock is seasonal, temporary, on call. If you remember earlier last year, we did a reorg within facilities. This $7,155 was the savings for that. We put that in stock to hold that for future. We were thinking maybe getting a seasonal. At this time, I don't think we'll utilize those funds, so I propose that we utilize them for this instead. Then the last one is extension stock with $4,686.79. If you remember, several years ago, we had 2 admin support staff within extension. We reduced that down to 1. as part of that budget move, we moved some funds to the stock budget. That way, if that person's off on vacation or needs extra help, we can utilize those funds for that. Looking at historic trends, we haven't been using all those funds. So my proposal is to take some of those funds and to utilize it to help pay for this position, or for this change. So with that, Mr. Chair, my recommendation is a motion to create the Communications Department of Public Services, eliminate the vacant 1.0 FTE Communications Manager, create a new 1.0 FTE Chief Communications Officer, and approve the associated budget amendment request form.
Any questions for Mr. Katabi?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner,
I think this is the right move. I think it's an indication of the growth of our county and stepping into the next area. I know that you spent a lot of time in diligence looking at this, one of those being, you know, is it a competitive wage to attract the right candidate? So appreciate all the effort on it. I know that particularly at Linden's group, there's a lot of money spent to let the public know, tell our story, right? What are we doing? How are we doing it? I know Chaska just went through a significant amount of that, and it's hard to measure that savings. You know, like when the community's engaged and they're not, you know, pounding your front desk with a bunch of calls because they're proactive. Is there a way that that we can make this partially unfunded by levy by way of billing it back to a road project or billing it back to a different project?
You know, I defer to Linden. I can't remember. It's part of the existing sales tax. It's coming from the sales tax.
Okay, so Sarah's is, but like could we do a part?
just make sure we get this on. Yeah, Lyndon, could you please come up, explain how the public works? Some of that is maybe.
Could you fractionally pay for the chief communications officer, I guess is the question.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know that, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that the new position funded in 24 specialist,
right,
that one is funded with Road and Bridge CIP funds.
Okay.
As well as service, as you know.
Okay. Yeah, so like net, I think the taxpayers are getting a benefit and they're not paying the full cost of it. I mean, directly through levy. I guess that's the point. Thank you, Lyndon. The other things I kind of wanted to point out when we looked at goals, we had talked about it in work session in June. I think this role is partially to help promote a robust talent pipeline too. We face a lot of headwinds and tell our story as a community. 2 years ago, we hosted the first rural or outstate Carver County Commerce Corridor tour through Greater MSP. In Greater MSP, the number one recommendation they said is tell your story. Because part of our story is we don't tell our story much because we're the aw shucks kind of county folks. But I also think that through our strategy documents, we said what it look like for this first thing for this person to do is to take a look at telling our story, particularly to an audience of juniors that may be considering where they're going to go to work in the future, and telling the story cross-functionally of collectively what do we do as a county. So promoting a robust talent pipeline, I think is part of the goals as well. So fully support this. I think it's a step in the right direction. Other counties and cities are doing the same, and they're seeing huge benefit from it. So thanks for the work on it.
Any other questions for Nick? If not, is there a motion?
Move approval as requested to fund the Chief Communications Officer. I think it'll be a first in our history. It's a good way to kick off 2024 and the funding associated with it.
A motion by Commissioner Ruderman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Haiti. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Lynch.
I can make the motion to recess as the Carver County Board and convene as the Carver County Regional Railroad Authority.
Is there a second? I'll second that. Motion by Commissioner Lynch, seconded by myself to enter into the Regional Rail Authority. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. At this point, Mr. Hemsey, what do we have to do as a regional rail?
New packet, last page.
Page 80, I'm sorry, 53. We just basically have to appoint a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary treasurer.
Typically, Mr. Chair, it's gone down the road this way. I think it's more of a statutory obligation, and the chair, vice chair guide the meetings.
Hearing the request, is there such a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lynch, seconded by Commissioner Fahey to appoint the chair, vice chair, and secretary treasurer. As Mr. Hemsey mentioned, just going down the line on the board here. Any discussion?
Yeah, we do need a secretary treasurer.
That would be the third person.
Okay, just want to clarify. I'm not sure there's any official duties, but
They're extensive.
As long as Diane is breathing, we're okay. Yeah. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to adjourn as the regional rail?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Lynch, second by Commissioner Fahey to adjourn as the regional rail authority and reconvene as the county board. Any discussion on that? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we turn over to Mr. Hemsey for the county administrator report.
yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Next week, 7:30 a.m. Tuesday, the legislative breakfast. If you bump into any of our reps, remind them. So far, only Senator Coleman, Representative Gruenhagen, Carter, and Council Member Barber and legislative assistant for Emmer have said they're going to be there. So if you could shake the bushes a little bit, if you see these folks, let them know. Diane, maybe we could send out one final reminder. I think we've sent out at least 2, 3. But we'll see you there. So same format as past year's breakfast at the American Legion, 7:30. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with that, is there a motion to enter into closed session to discuss confidential settlement negotiations for the purchase of real property for Highway 212 project in Benton Township pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D.05 subsection 3C and related PID number 40.4400470. Is there a motion to go into closed session for that purpose?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lynch, second by Commissioner Uterman, to go into closed session. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are going into closed session. Take about a 3-minute break. Yeah, we'll take a 3-minute break to get set up.
You know if the video is going to work at all?
We'll have to see.
Okay.
Yeah, keep those.
Okay. We can maybe.
Still got the roundabout going this year? As it can, it's Point Parkway. Yes. Yeah. How's that, is it City of Waconia doing some extensive stuff there too?
Yeah, they'll be building overlay on each end of it too. So from the roundabout at Waconia Park South, all the way up to the third. Overhead as well. They're adding a trail gap, but that's just down Waconia Park North. They're doing that too. So it's a bit of work. So nice. What's next here?
Six-hour P60.
I just stay away from the 6 hours.
That's what I do.
I have at Springfields. I never crossed over to the blocks, but the guys who shoot 45s are going back in. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, like you mentioned, the military has the same gun until you get to the suit. That's right. Those guys get whatever they want. That's the past. Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's see where it goes.
And then Venus. In the 3 boats.
Which I had to see. All right.
All right.
It's up there.
All of a sudden, What they do, it was ridiculous.
These individuals.
Well, it is. Even.
Yes. We can find out for sure.
Introduce you all. Josh.
Just for the Kennedy's book, he was in Afghanistan. They were fighting already.
Closed session for the
key question.
You know, if they started the attorney
When they funded all the guns in there.
I'd have to look at it. Yes.
He pulled out that
I'll keep it.
really stupid.
Yeah, it's really good. Right mark here too.
So many as you want.
I'd have to look at it.
All of us.
Yes.
Did you get a
Clean sheet. Hey, I've been seeing a lot of people get their books they read last year.
Client privilege, no,
Probably not just go on like Goodreads or just land pictures of the books. We don't close them. It's kind of cool. How many books did you read last year? Read a lot. Don't you read a lot too, Tim?
Yeah, I would mention that.
It's gonna be an audio.
That's a good point, thanks.
Yeah, it's land acquisition. So that's how we. Did you ask if that could get fired up?
If you get a chance.
Tim Kennedy.
Guys in special forces.
They have a deal now.
Special forces. Get into special forces, you always have to be a sergeant. But they're competing to the Navy. They can go from basic training right into special forces training. And the guys who had to wait 5-6 years to get sergeant before they get a tryout to it, that's your trainers.
I know, for these guys.
That's all stuff they do.
I think it's still recording. It's recording still?
I've asked for one of these.
No.
There was a. Was it the other one?
The dolphin face.
I wrote mine.
I get one too.
It'll take you too long.
Yeah. Heard you talking about the stuff that working with the Navy SEALs.
Well, they would.
My nephew, who's friend,
Couple more. Anyone else?
he's telling about how many people 60% have done for more. I think the last week.
Like Christmas break.
I think just one step away. His buddy. This course. Oh, okay. I told him, he said, hey, got a urgent call, a death in the family or something like that. The person said, you should be able to take this line. That's where it's testing. Yeah.
Your team's the most important thing.
He's most important. If you're on the line and something happens like that, you can't distracted and thinking about it.
There's a book, it's about Roy Bone. It's called First Seal. And he was during the Cuban Missile Crisis, he was in Cuba twice, and he was the most intense person you ever seen in your life. He said that your team is much more important than your family. He said, you can always get married and have more kids.
Well, you know, that's biblical. One of Jesus' disciples.
Recommends for the USB drive.
So Jesus' disciples' father died, and he said, you know, the time.
All the stories.
No, the big pit. And it was like swamp. So they just wanted to make one right up there. The animals in there. They're just hated up with a passion. You know, they can move 5-6 years like they did.
Oh, there you go.
It feels hilarious.
Number 2 later.
Next year.
Oh, next year.
He'll save it.
You don't have 2 wives. You don't need to.
Oh, next year.
Next year, maybe, yeah.
Every year. He married a Jersey girl. This isn't gonna go well.
Gift love is I bought my wife an air dryer. That's what people want. But that thing was like $300. I've never heard of such a thing.
Sure.
I'm like, you don't need to know how much my fishing stuff is, but that's ridiculous.
That's true. She uses that every day. You use a fishing rod 10, 20 times.
It's not about how many times, but
Success rate.
I'm going to Lake of the Woods by the way, Wednesday, so we'll wait and wish me luck.
They have ice there?
And staying above. Yeah, they do it.
Famous last words.
Even up there, you need to be careful right now.
Are you gonna bring a rubber raft with?
Yeah, right?
How much? Now you sound like my wife.
How does the spirit work with the rubber
Yeah,
raft?
but his hair isn't as nice.
I watched a guy fishing with a boat in Buffalo yesterday, so.
Yeah, they're fishing on Lake Mille Lacs.
They're always biting on Lake Costco.
You're up in the northeast by Melbourne.
Crazy. You know.
Full report next week.
This year, my son bought a house. He's got special rods and reels,
Yeah.
fish finder, and
It's a house on the lake.
If it would, it'd be on the bottom of it.
he was up in Grand Rapids. I saw him. He was on a small lake. I said, don't win any darn scores.
Dave's already been up on Red Lake. See, they had to hire, they had
Good
a
lesson.
There's a plane.
140 people.
100 they had to rescue.
Well, where's the ice flow go? They're safe on the ice flow, right? Just move across the lake.
Unless you jump in a canoe and try to get back until
The question is when the ice breaks off, do you keep fishing, Dave?
then you're trolling.
Green trolling.
You gotta change your gear, yeah.
You guys are making me sound like I'm not
Change your digs. Oh, good.
Worst part is you need to leave your gear out there.
Really wide.
They don't take it.
Because you're jumping back in the boat to get, you can't bring your sled.
They're not rescuing your gear.
So it's all litter in the lake.
Now you can go back and get it if it's
If it freezes up again. But then you gotta cross into the reservation. How does that work? It blows across to the south.
The upper half.
Yeah, they have some gear. They have the Hamsey gear. That's the
And you're never gonna see it again.
Unless it's on eBay or.
Then Dave's wife's really gonna be mad. You want 2 hair
I
dryers.
want to ask my insurance agent if it's covered. Having trouble back here?
No.
We were sitting at Howell's on Round Lake by Hayward. We were inside having dinner and drinks. And here comes these 5 yucks when their ATV roll right up to the beach. They get off and they all start walking out. And all the people in the bar are going, I don't know.
It's taking.
We're all waiting for somebody.
$5 they go.
Come on in, order the walleye sandwich. Dude.
It's scary. We went through the ice on our snowmobile. It's scary.
One year we were sitting.
How'd you get out?
Well, you don't sink right away to the bottom. So the snowmobile floats, so we were able to crawl out on the ice and then go through the marsh and stop at a house and warm up. But shocking that she won't ride a snowmobile with me anymore.
Ours with the snowmobile out.
We had to hire a company
Snowmobile floats, you said?
for a little while.
For a little
Yeah, but it wasn't too deep there, but it was 10 below that day too. So it was,
Or he didn't tell you, she carried him on her back.
I was crying the whole way down.
That's what.
Did she say, you really know how to treat a girl?
Yeah. It's been 8 years since she's been on a snowmobile with me since then.
Well, we were up years, some year quite a few, but we're standing near Round Lake, Hayward, on the edge, sort of the edge of the lake, and for some reason we're stopped. Where are we going to go next? We're basically standing around this snowmobile. The back end goes like this in the lake, hung up on the skis. We're had a couple of pops. It's pointing straight up in the air. And we yanked her out, but this little piece of ice just went
You didn't get wet?
Back end, not the motor.
I mean, you.
No, it's just the back end of the stone.
Now, there was a bomb here that was big old students that went through on my fields. Must be.
78-year-old guy, right?
Yeah. We do joke when we go on those things. That we could sit by the door when we start.
Okay, did they? They're supposed to float. I thought they were supposed to float, but I don't think these do.
I don't know. I haven't heard the final story. Well, they have. They added air. I mean, these things are built in 40s, 50s. They added airbags to the front and back.
But 20 years ago, there was like three or four people died.
Yeah.
So then they're supposed to float after
That's
that.
what I thought. That's what they tell you.
Should be recording now.
Okay.
Oh, we're in the closed session. This is January 2nd, 2024. We're talking about real property in Highway 212, Project Bend Township, pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D05, subsection C, on the parcel number 40.4400470.0, I guess. I'm Gail Tegler, County Board.
John Fahey, County Board.
Tim Lynch, County Board.
Matt Uterman, County Board.
Tom Workman, County Board.
Josh Weir, outside counsel, assisting with the acquisition.
Current role, WSB right-of-way agent for the property.
Lyndon Robson, Public Works Director.
Darren Milkey, Deputy County Engineer.
Mark Betts, County Attorney.
Dave Kelsey, County Administrator.
Take it away, Darren.
Hopefully I'll be able to bring it up on the screen too. If not, we're gonna have to do a lot of descriptive.
What would make you think that you might not be able to do it?
We'll try our best, but we'll give them a chance to bring it up. But I'll give it an overview. So Highway 212 project, this is the next phase, final phase, I guess, for now.